Good morning, everybody. How is everyone doing? Had two shows yesterday. I recognize a lot of people from being in here yesterday. Of course, I recognize your names anyway, and that's a good thing. If I don't recognize your name, though, I'd like to. So hit the sub button and get reminded because I love hanging out with you guys. Love it. How is everyone? All of our Florida friends. I'm doing a check. How are our Florida friends? I know November Day said it wasn't going to be hitting her. Terrible hurricane that's coming through. Terrible. Let's see through who is in here. I saw we had a lot of hi, hello, howdies going on this morning. You guys were already chatting it up. I said hi to a couple people, but I missed not my legal name. I missed Robin. Pat was talking about bracelets. Pat makes the most beautiful jewelry. She made me a purple bracelet and a red. I actually just had them on Sunday. I love them. There's just me. Hey, Celeste, what's up? What you been doing, girlfriend? Moulin Rouge, where you been? I haven't seen you in a while. Aaron's doing good. That's good. Hey, Connie, how's your wrist doing? I don't know if you answered yesterday when I asked. Yes, Jennifer, stay safe, friends in Florida. Hello, Eddie. What's up, Eddie? Preschool's in the house. Suzanne's in the house. Pat, exactly. Amethyst and Garnet. Garnet, not Garnet. That's the name of a street. Hello, Suzanne. She makes gorgeous jewelry. Gorgeous. Yeah, I saw somebody was in here asking about gemstones. I was wondering what was going on. What was going on? Was it you, Beth? Do you make jewelry? I'm dying to know. Dying to know. All right, so I normally don't do this. Every now and then I've had like a week in review where we just go through a crazy week and we just kind of bust it out on a Friday. I've promised, I've said, and I've tried, and I don't know what has happened, how I got derailed, but I've been wanting to talk about the Evelyn Boswell case. Now, some creators only talk about solved crimes, meaning the book has been thrown, someone's in jail, there's no more questions to ask. On this channel, we talk about crimes that are still under, it's an open investigation. We're frustrated, we're pissed, we speculate, we theorize. We know some of these that come in here are crazy, but that's all right. But that's all right. We know how it goes. We've been very fortunate around here. Very fortunate. Because the trash always seems to take itself out. We don't really have to fret over it. I am going to start talking more about Evelyn Boswell, not only because I'm so upset about what came out last week, but because the more I was going back through my notes from like 2 years ago about Evelyn, I'm still, even though I got run out of town in a few Facebook groups about this, I'm not 100% convinced that the boyfriend, the guy that Maggie was obsessed with, Hunter, didn't know more about what happened to Evelyn than he let on to. So we're going to talk about that today, and in further shows, we're going to talk about some similarities between the Boswell case and Summer Wells case. We don't know what happened to Summer. No one's in jail. No one's been charged. Absolutely no update. Probably won't get one. Going to see a lot of similar names and faces. Hear a lot of similar phrases like, Leslie Earnhardt. She was all over the Evelyn Boswell case. Other similarities, we have two Hunters. We have Maggie's boyfriend. I had a nickname for him. I called him Chicken Shack. I still do. Chicken Shack. Matter of fact, with the Summer Wells case, I think it was in July of 2021, we had just come across Hunter in the Summer Wells case. Someone mentioned in chat Hunter, and I said, Oh my God, do not tell me that Chicken Shack's involved in the Summer Wells case too. Because that is how much doubt and suspicion I've always had against Chicken Shack. Going to talk about him. As we've said in every case we cover on this channel, the crazies eventually do go away. And in Evelyn's case, the crazies have gone away. No one's talking about gypsies, Mexico, or anything like that anymore. Much like Candace, Maggie blamed everyone and their dog. Okay? She blamed her mother, which was kind of a good call because her mother is batshit crazy. Said that her mother had Evelyn in a camper in Virginia. The police followed up on all of her accusations, by the way, because they have to. They have to. They even drained a pond in North Carolina because her mom and her boyfriend, I don't know if they're still together or not, Will is his name. I called him Tattoo. They were poking around out in North Carolina, probably trying to get some money from his grandma. They drained a whole pond there, a whole pond in North Carolina. She said that Evelyn's biological father, who is active service military at the time, was stationed in Louisiana, had Evelyn. They had to check up on that. She said that a babysitter, Casey Anthony style, had Evelyn. They had to follow up on that. She even said that Evelyn was a very fast walker, and could be anywhere on the property. Well, they did a search. They didn't search the shed, though. Her father got a lot of online hate. He is the one that called Child Protective Services and said he hadn't seen his granddaughter. They got the police involved. And just like we say in every case, as it comes out, it makes sense. Didn't understand in the beginning why they didn't just slap her with a million charges. Of course, that stuff takes time. One of the detectives came out. This was after the 19 felonies were put on Maggie, and said he knew the minute he talked to her, he knew it in his gut that Evelyn was not alive and that Maggie knew everything that happened to her. Everything. I'm not going to be surprised if, I hate to say it, Pruitt doesn't come out in the next year after that, and said the first time I talked to Candace Wells, I knew she knew. I knew she knew, but there was nothing I could do about it. Aaron says, what the hell could be her motive? I will show you right now. Maggie's motive, and this is just what I think, is the gentleman on the screen, Hunter Wood. She was more than obsessed with him. He made it clear that he wanted children someday, but not with someone who already had children. His father, Hunter's kind of a loser in his own right, but his father bought him this. It's called the Chicken Shack. I don't know if it's in Blounteville or Kingsport. At one point, Maggie worked for him. And they became a couple, all right? According to him, he never saw, this is his words, not mine, the child. Never saw the child. Never would use Evelyn's name, but he never saw the child. I don't 100% buy that. A lot went on to the point where Maggie's mom, Angela Boswell, she's on the screen with her boyfriend, Tattoo, to the point where Hunter's mother loaned these two meth heads, who, by the way, another case similarity, Angela Boswell is not allowed in any Walmart in the nation. Sound familiar? Loaned these two imbeciles a BMW. They were tooling all around East Tennessee. They were having a great time. while Evelyn was missing. We also have two different sheriffs, very different sheriffs. The sheriff of Sullivan County was not having it with Maggie and her bullshit. One of his first press conferences I watched, he looked worn out. I mean, he was out of wind. He said, she can't keep a story straight. He was wiping his forehead off. He was shaking his head. They wound up putting her in jail just for lying to the police. I've brought it up on many shows about Summer Wells, where I've said, we know Candace has lied repeatedly. Why won't Ronnie just lock her up just for lying to the police, just for impeding an investigation? Why not? Never mind the alcohol that she gave to another hunter, Allie's son. Why not? Why not? Brown Eyes says that's a little sus. Oh, it is. Oh, it is. So we have Sullivan County Sheriff treated Maggie much differently than Hawkins County Sheriff has treated the Wells. Yet we still have the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. So you're going to recognize the names and the faces. They also worked side by side with Sullivan County. Seems to me, though, that someone in Sullivan County listened, had their listening ears on much more than they have in Hawkins County. Maggie also said that she was at the sheriff's department to take a lie detector test, but they couldn't give it to her because she was pregnant with Hunter's baby. Well, she was not pregnant with Hunter's baby. The sheriff of Sullivan County also came out and said, because he was very transparent with her bullshit, came out and said, we don't even have a lie detector test here. We don't have the machine. We don't have anything like that here, or anyone that knows how to administer it or read it. I've brought that up in the Summer Wells case many, many times too, that I doubt Dawn, Candace, or Grandis ever took one, because if they don't have the shit in Sullivan County, why would they have it in Hawkins? Remember, police can lie to you. If Dawn and Candace say it, sure, we'll go along with it. I very highly doubt Dawn or Candace took a lie detector. We have a very special guest backstage. We have our friend Trevor, also from East Tennessee, that has been following both cases very closely for quite a long time. Let's give a warm Crime Lines and Lies welcome to our friend Trevor. Hey, Trevor, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. So you and I have been going back and forth on Facebook for quite a while about both cases.
Mm-hmm.
What similarities do you see between the Summer Wells disappearance and, well, I'm just going to say it, the murder of Evelyn Boswell?
Well, I see two little girls with two mothers that do anything but be a mother, and two mothers that have put all of their own priorities ahead of their child. And I think we're going to find out that both cases ended the same way, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can't remember the detective's name in Sullivan County that said he knew the minute he spoke to Maggie Boswell. Her name is Megan. Somehow she got the nickname Maggie. I got another name for her, but YouTube will get really mad about it. When he said he knew when he talked to her. If he could have shook the shit out of her, he would have. He knew he was not going to find Evelyn alive, and he knew she knew everything about it. Let's not forget that her newest Maggie's newest, is that because she's not given up on Hunter, guys. Don't ever think she's ever going to forget about Chicken Shack. Her and Chicken Shack were in bed and they rolled over on Evelyn. Can you believe she's saying that now?
I don't even know where to start with that. I mean, I never took her to be someone who was very smart, but that's just like a theory that, especially after the information that came out in the other day's court hearing, it's just will never even imaginably hold up.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've slept since then. And I mean, I lived and breathed the Evelyn Boswell case. I couldn't keep up with all the different stories. Much like Candace Wells, Maggie was all over Facebook. Now, she never made her way to YouTube. She was arguing with people in comments.
Mm-hmm.
This is her own personal page, not even what she did on WJHL or the news station out of Knoxville. She had a very open and public Facebook page. She changed her last name on Facebook to Wood, the same as Chicken Shack. Maggie Wood is what it said. It was no longer Maggie Boswell. It was Maggie Wood. That's how obsessed she was with Chicken Shack and still is. She was arguing with people, finally said, I don't care what you say about me, but we, meaning her and Chicken Shack, need our little girl back as soon as possible. She's the sweetest little thing you would have ever met. Also, another similarity, I don't know if you remember this, Trevor, from the get. Maggie used Evelyn in past tense.
Mm-hmm. Dawn has done the same thing. Candace has as well.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget Camper Queen Grandis.
Oh, yeah.
She knew when she rolled out from her slumber and planting cactuses, she knew summer was gone. She knew she had been abducted. Now, I can't remember. You'll have to refresh my memory. How soon after Tommy Boswell called CPS, they immediately got the police involved because, unlike Summer Wells, Maggie didn't tell anybody her daughter was missing. It was about a month and a half before Tommy was done with her excuses. Tommy is Maggie's dad, called CPS. How long after that do you remember that the Amber Alert came out?
I believe it was very soon after, because a lot of worry came in with how long it had been and how there were the difference with the Summer Wells case, of course, is that it was day of, but with this case, with how much time had passed, I think they immediately brought in everything because of circumstances with all the time that had passed.
Because that definitely was one thing that the Sheriff Cassidy, I believe.
Yes.
He's still the sheriff too, right?
Yes, he is.
Good, because he's an awesome sheriff.
He is. I talk to him every now and then. I've got a good working relationship with him with what we do here, because I'm in Sullivan County, and he's very good.
Have you ever gotten a chance to pick his brain? And if you can't say, don't say. What he thinks about the mess in Hawkins County with Summer Wells?
I've spoken to him about it, but it's not something that he's really gotten into, which I understand, because they're all sheriffs in the same area of the state. They're not trying to. What I will say is I wish that he was on it instead, because I know he would have handled it differently, but he won't say that, of course.
I agree 100%. I believe that if Sheriff Cassidy was involved with, over, whatever you want to call it, and the DA in Sullivan County too.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the sheriff calls all the shots. Some people seem to think they do. They don't. They have to have cooperation from their district attorney.
Mm-hmm. And
this one in Hawkins County doesn't seem to be too concerned. I mean, he kind of mentions, him-hawed around a little bit about, we'll probably have to get a grand jury. And, well, I kind of guide them through what I might need. And it's like, look, I get you want them to make your job easy for you. And without the body of Summer Wells, I totally get it's definitely an uphill battle,
Right.
But I do think that if the sheriff of Sullivan County, which can't be done, was handling the Summer Wells case, we'd be in a different boat right now, because they also did not have Evelyn's body when he put Maggie's lying ass in jail.
Exactly.
And what were the charges? Remind me.
I know that the initial charges were false reporting or making false reports. That's what he had initially put her on for before they found her body.
Kind of like Candace saying that the tree trimmers took Summer.
Yeah, and Dawn saying that everybody on YouTube, everybody in the state, everybody in the country took Summer.
Joe Biden.
Yeah.
The
Mexico. He talked about Mexico.
Mm-hmm. The Mexican cartel.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sheriff Cassidy, he locked her ass up.
Oh yeah. As he.
And also, after locking her up, like I said, they did not have Evelyn's body. It turns out, and mind you, it's been almost 2 years, that it was the credible tip that came in, and it wasn't that he knew, but it was Megan's father, Maggie's father, Tommy, that said he called. I don't know if he called TBI or if he called the sheriff's department and said, "Have you checked the storage unit on my property?" They came out and checked it, and lo and behold, what did they find? Evelyn.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, we were led to believe that she was wrapped in a blanket in like a Rubbermaid, those storage bins.
Mm-hmm.
But it's much worse. Like we say in every case, when it comes out, it's going to be 10 times worse than we can think. Evelyn was alive and stuffed into a trash can.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are going to be having the same conversation when they get to the bottom of what happened to Summer Wells. It's going to be 10 times worse than anything we can imagine. That was a really hard, we're going to listen to it. That was a really hard news clip to have to stomach through last week.
Oh yeah.
So other similarities, I'm going to show Maggie here in a second. You're going to see some very forced tears from Maggie. That's going to remind you a lot of Candace. Going to see that. Oh, thank goodness I wrote this down. I was going to forget. Okay, so after Sheriff Cassidy, now how long was it after the Amber Alert that he'd had it with Maggie's lies and he put her ass in jail? Do you remember about how long it was?
I don't remember exactly how long it was, but I know that he pretty quickly after she had done her few news interviews where she was smirking on camera and doing all the other nonsense and had made false reports to him as well, that he got her in as soon as he could.
Okay, so he puts her in jail for false reporting, basically lying to the police. He'd had it with her. And remember, everything that she said, the police had to follow up on. They drained a pond in North Carolina. They had to go to Mendota, Virginia, and go through a campground because she said her mother had Evelyn there and her mother wouldn't give Evelyn to her. We go to the Wells case and the insanity that Candace and Dawn have given to us. And don't forget, both Dawn and Candace have brought the Boswell case up several times. It's almost like they took a page from the playbook on what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
Dawn even said, I think he was on Cher's channel one night, and he said, "We're being unfairly persecuted." That was the word he used. He was being all biblical, just like Megan Boswell. What do you make of that?
Well, he feels that way, especially because of the people around here that support him. I was there for the 1 year vigil down at the swimming hole, and that the local church people had put on. And without anyone in the family present, they made sure to say that people have treated Don and Candace so unfairly. So they've got people, too many people in their corner that support that.
Do they still in your area? Are there people that still support Don and Candace and Grandis?
Yes.
How do you stomach that?
I just can't even. I just don't know how you can look at a case like this, even if they did in some theoretical sense turn out to be innocent. How do you even just blindly defend them when there's no trace of their missing daughter?
None. None. And now let's talk about the search for Summer before I get onto this news clip, because I want everybody to see how Maggie's crying. Maggie. Some people are saying that the search wasn't very thorough. Now, Muscles and Mascara comes on panel quite a bit talking about Summer Wells. She used to work with Tim Coop, and she has explained, look, they wouldn't just purposely step over Summer. They were walking shoulder to shoulder, looking straight down at the ground. Helicopters, drones. It was much more extensive search than there was for Evelyn Boswell. Is that true?
Yes. And the terrain there is, while Sullivan County, Hawkins County are very close, the terrain in that area, especially in Beach Creek, is very bad. I did a private property search. Obviously, I won't say where, but on a private property with permission from the owner. We searched, and it's just the terrain is incredibly hard to go through.
What was it? Was it because of the trees being so close together or the Johnson grass? What was it that makes it so hard to search?
It's that, and then the elevation. So to get to the game trails where the animals go up through, which is one of the theories that was placed out there, is that you have to go straight up the mountain at an incredible incline. So that's what really comes into, is it's not like you're just flatly walking across fields. You're basically scaling a mountain to get, and you have to cover parts of it while you're going up and down.
So there's that, but they had over 100 agencies looking for Summer.
Mm-hmm.
How many agencies were looking for Evelyn?
I think the searches there were more condensed, and then they were concentrated. I know, like you had talked about, they went out on all of the lies that she put out, but all of those leads, and they were very specific places. Whereas with Summer, where there was the big conversation, did she walk off? It was kind of just like a grand search of the whole nearby area.
I still wonder, because it was said by a lot of people local that Evelyn could not have been on that property the whole time. They believed she was being actually kept at the Chicken Shack restaurant for a while. I don't know if I buy that.
I'm not sure, but I definitely, at first, at least when the news broke that night, I definitely thought she had been moved.
Most people do. I still think that Hunter knew, Hunter as in the Evelyn Boswell case,
Mm-hmm.
I guess Hunter in the Summer Wells case, that he knows way more than he ever put out. He was the first one to give an interview, the first one, to where he kept remember, he kept promoting his restaurant. He goes, yeah, I'm Hunter Wood with Hunter T's Chicken Shack. And he brought the Chicken Shack up way more than Evelyn. Wouldn't even call her Evelyn. It was the child.
The child. It was always the child.
The child. And he kept shaking his head no. And he would like slyly grin. It was creepy.
Mm-hmm.
The day after he gave that interview on WJHL, he got an attorney.
Yep.
And remember, the sheriff's office would say over and over, we can't talk to him. He has an attorney. Now, he's on the witness list for the trial in February. I think when push comes to shove with Summer Wells, I think there's going to be another Hunter on the witness list.
100%.
Oh, is this true? Preschool Granny said the Chicken Shack is closed down now.
I'm not sure. I haven't heard, but see.
I have not checked. That was wild too, man. People were going and ordering chicken there all the time just to get a glimpse of Hunter and see if they could ask him any questions about Evelyn. Birdie said it's closed. Well, darn, what's Hunter doing now?
I'm not sure we want to know.
Yeah, they said it closed about a month ago. Oh, well, times are tough, Hunter. Times are tough. Thing is, the sad thing with that is his parents took the hit on that. Hunter didn't have any capital or money or anything to start a restaurant. He's just had a series of bad decisions that his parents have bailed him out of. Only emotion that Maggie showed in jail. Okay, when they went to Maggie and they said they had found Evelyn, Brad Sproles, her attorney, went to the jail and said they have found Evelyn. He seemed a tad bit confused. Now, mind you, he's a defense attorney. He knows what he's dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Something about her demeanor really set him off. He was doing his best to make it look like to the public she was concerned and upset. But lo and behold, when Maggie was confronted that Hunter was on Instagram jet skiing with another girl, Maggie lost it. Maggie lost her shit when she found out Chicken Shack was on the jet ski with another girl.
Because that's always what it's been about to her. It's her. It's always been her priorities in her life over anything else, including her daughter, clearly.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely crazy. Hunter's probably been back to jail. I know he had a series of, drug offenses, DUIs and stuff like that. Do you know if he's been back?
I'm sure he has. I haven't heard for sure, but I know there's a lot of rumors that attach these things, so I hear plenty, but I wouldn't be surprised at all.
All right. Yeah, she's something else. She is something else. All right, so this was Maggie. Still is Maggie. Maggie wears different clothes now. She wears black and white stripes. And for some reason, she's still wearing a COVID mask. COVID's not going to get Maggie. That's another similarity. Candace saying that she was worried about COVID. Candace said she had COVID. We know she didn't. She was hungover.
Yeah.
Psychotic is right, Rowena. So Maggie, when she goes to court, sees the judge and all that stuff, she always has a COVID mask on. Have you noticed that, Trevor?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Nobody else does.
Nope.
Even the forensic pathologist didn't. But Maggie does. Disgusting. All right, let's go through this clip real quick, and then we'll go back through some more similarities.
I love her and I'll miss her, that I'll be with her as I can get to her as quick as I can. The mother of an East Tennessee toddler at the center of a statewide Amber Alert says she knows who took her daughter.
And this comes as the car investigators were looking for is found in North Carolina, along with at least two people they want to talk to.
This sweet little girl, 15-month-old Evelyn Mae Boswell, hasn't been seen since December, but was just reported missing this week.
News Channel 5's Emily Luxon has the latest on this developing story from the 5 Alert Center. And Emily, this is a complicated case.
Well, that's right. In fact, the Sullivan County Sheriff says he has never seen a case like this. Now, that car, a 2007 gray BMW, and the people inside were found in Wilkes County, North Carolina. That's about an hour and a half east of where Evelyn Boswell was last seen in Sullivan County, Tennessee. But again tonight, no sign of Evelyn. The Sheriff Jeff Cassidy says the 15-month-old was last seen by a babysitter on December 10th or 11th. But it wasn't until this week that her grandfather reported she was missing. And then the TBI issued an Amber Alert. Evelyn's mother, Maggie Boswell, appeared in juvenile court today, but it's unknown why. She has full custody of her daughter, and she told our news partner,
Trevor, do we remember why she had to go to juvenile court? I remember she had to keep going to juvenile court for something. She had some sort of outstanding charge she was having to answer to. And to answer Brown Eyes Blue, thank you for the super sticker. Does anyone think that the mother and her boyfriend had anything to do with baby Evelyn? Remember that song he sang? He was singing something about under the willow trees and stuff. Tattoo was. Seems that those two were nowhere around. I wouldn't have been surprised, but it seems like they were nowhere around. That's them right there. Then they went and they were stealing all that stuff from Angela's dad, and then he didn't press charges. Then he only pressed charges against Tattoo. Oh, it's wild. Trevor, you're muted. Can you hear me, Trevor?
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes, sorry about that. It's not StreamYard. I don't know. So do we remember what we may have never heard what Maggie kept having to go to court for? Because that was the first card that the sheriff played, was they kept bringing her to juvenile court for some charge from before when she was 18, obviously. Was that shoplifting or was that something else?
I'm not sure. I hadn't heard, and I know that with, of course, as we know, with juvenile cases, it's also usually kept tight-lipped too. But I hadn't heard what the charge was. But I do remember that they kept bringing her in for that at the start of the case to push forward what they got to.
Because they kept bringing Maggie in. See, this is another difference between our two sheriffs. We have Sheriff Ronnie Lawson, Hawkins County, that honestly, in my opinion, could do something with Candace for neglect, endangerment. We know there were some parties going on Ben Hill Road where Hunter was given alcohol and other children.
Yep.
And he's not doing anything with it. Could Sheriff Cassidy in Sullivan County do something about it? Because supposedly in Sullivan County also that's where the Twisted Tea was given to Hunter.
Right. I think that Sullivan County, as they've helped in the ways that they can, but they've stepped out of jurisdiction as far as making any moves on the case, especially once TBI got involved, where it supersedes both. But honestly, like I said, I wish the case didn't happen at all, of course, but I wish if it did, it would have been in Sullivan County, because I know that they would be in for so many other charges that they should be in for now. Mm-hmm. At least. Yeah. I mean, they even had the boys removed. Like, there was a reason. I don't care what Don says. There was a legitimate reason as to why the boys were removed, and that also could institute neglect, at least on their part.
Yep. They didn't take the boys just because they were taking them to play mini golf or the water park. They took them for neglect, abuse, drug abuse, alcohol abuse. It was rumored that the two of them were asked to come and submit a urine sample because the CPS case was still ongoing. They both lit up like a damn Christmas tree. Go figure. Yeah. That was the final nail in the coffin. I don't know. I really just want the boys left alone. I just have a hard time believing that they can't pick Candace up on something.
I just don't know why they haven't, because the thing is, like, it's not even, I guess, I don't feel like it's the question of, it's almost clear and obvious that they could. I just don't know why they haven't.
Mm-hmm. And just, what Pruitt said last March, that really got the true crime community all twisted. He said, well, this case has bled over into this case, and people are thinking that they have to solve the case, the CPS case, before they can move on with Summer. I wish he wouldn't have said that, because there's no innocent until proven guilty when it comes to child endangerment. They remove the children for safety reasons. Then they take care of then they get to the bottom of it. Mm-hmm. And they're two totally different departments. Child Protective Services, they're not law enforcement.
Right.
I just thought that was nuts that That maybe it was edited wrong. I'd like to know the whole conversation, but anyway.
WYCB that she had a person she trusted watch Evelyn while she was at work and they disappeared, but she didn't contact police.
Well, the reason I didn't report it or anything is because I knew the person who had her, and I didn't want them to run away with her. And as soon as they thought anything was going on, they just kind of vanished. So I'm just worried about, like where they're at, what they're doing with her at this point in time.
Boswell did not say who was watching Evelyn, but did say if she could do it all over again, she would call police right away. Sheriff Cassidy says Boswell has been cooperating with the investigation, but she has been giving conflicting information. Now, there is a $33,000 reward for information that leads to Evelyn's safe return. If you have any information in this case, call the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office or the TBI at 1-800-TBI-FIND. Reporting live in the 5.
800 TBI find, and boy, just like the Summer Wells case, was that line not lit up. At one time, they even said Tommy Boswell was known to hang around gypsies and that the gypsies had Evelyn.
They've done the same thing in the Summer case. The amount of crazy tips and leads that have been submitted, it's just insane.
Yep. TBI. Go ahead. Sorry.
That reward that they were mentioning of in the video just reminds me of another discrepancy in the two cases, is the way the reward has been handled. I've hated the way that Hawkins County has done the reward, the way they've handled it.
Mm-hmm. It seems in Hawkins County, you can't really trust them to watch over the cash register.
Clearly not.
Even at the chicken shack, they can do better. Yeah, because I think $25,000 was put up by Maggie's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Boswell believed his ex-wife, Angela, did hold the keys to the kingdom, that she knew where Evelyn was. He hates Angela Boswell with good reason. And he figured that amount of money with her meth habit and all the stuff her and Tattoo had going on, that she would have no problem taking that 25 grand from Tommy. Then other people around Sullivan, Hawkins, the whole area, they put in the additional 8,000.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Angela, as far as I remember, was not cooperative with the police at all.
No.
No. Now, let me ask you, back to Summer Wells. You hear more because you're there. And if you can say. If you can't, we totally understand. What do you think, do you think they'll ever put together a task force for Summer Wells, get fresh eyes on the case, and maybe move forward in that direction as opposed to the same tired old tricks we've been seeing for, well, we're coming on 16 months with Summer. What do you think?
I think that, honestly, it needs to be out of the hands of Hawkins County. And I don't think that they're all just incompetent. I just think it's too big of a task for somewhere that small. It's not something that they usually handle. They handle meth busts and high-speed chases that end up in their county and things like that. But this is too much. I think if TBI stays on it, which they've said they are, and I hope that they continue to, that's the best shot, because they go back in and reopen cases as time goes on. But I just hope that they keep their finger on it more, because I feel like if Hawkins is left alone with it, it's just going to go way under the desk. It'll be a cold file.
Mm-hmm. I really think with the misdeeds and the money issues in Hawkins County, I think that's why they have done everything they can to just take care of it on their own. Yeah, they want to find Summer. Yeah, they want that off their plate. They know that's the elephant in the room, but they don't want anything else uncovered. I mean, like right now, the lights are shining on the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want anything else exposed by letting other people come in and go through their stuff in the search for Summer Wells. Whereas in the case of Evelyn Boswell, I can't remember the detective's name. That's going to drive me. I got to look this up in a second. The detective that said the minute he spoke with Maggie, Megan, whatever you want to call her, he knew he would never find Evelyn alive. And he knew that girl knew everything that happened. He knew it. He also said this was a case unlike any other. They didn't know how to handle it. They relied on the TBI extensively. They didn't have the resources. They had to get the FBI involved. They didn't have the resources, nor can they cross state lines to go drain a pond in North Carolina or to go bust a band of gypsies like they had to do, because there were some gypsies accused of it. Uh-oh, we lost Trevor. He'll be back. To go to Mendota, Virginia, and try to find Angela and Tattoo. They couldn't do all that. They had to get outside help. Hello, Trevor. Did Stream kick you out?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, I got it.
So, yeah, a big difference is Sullivan County reached out for, accepted, and wanted the help from TBI and FBI, because it was the FBI that had to go to North Carolina and drain that pond.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Hawkins County seems to be like, we'll just take care of it here. We know how to talk to people around here.
Definitely. And I think, and that's the difference too, you see with the leadership with Cassidy versus Ronnie Lawson, is Cassidy knows that he can handle things, but he knows also where he needs to stop and ask for help. And that's where a true leader can come in and put the case above him and his own department. Even if a higher department solves the case, it's more about finding Evelyn and finding what happened than him solving the case. And I think with Hawkins County, they were so hell-bent on being the ones that solved it, they screwed it up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I will say, I can't say where this came from, but TBI, when they came in, they had to put their thumb down on Hawkins County because they wanted to run the show, and TBI was like, we have jurisdiction, it's ours now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas they didn't have to do that with Evelyn's case because Cassidy and others welcomed the help because that was what the case needed.
I mean, obviously, in the Summer Wells case, it would be totally different. There wouldn't be the big question mark. Well, did she wander off or was it foul play? If they had Summer's body, not trying to be crass, but, with Evelyn, they found Evelyn.
Right.
So they could determine what happened to Evelyn. Still, there was a lot of people very upset about that because they found Evelyn in February, I believe, 2020. And charges didn't come to Maggie until like August or September of 2020. So still these things take a long time, even with the body to put together. So if they even found Summer today, we still may not even see charges on Dawn, Candace, for another 6 months to a year.
Right.
Oh man. And that's nobody's fault. That's not even bad police work or anything like that. That's just how long it takes. You've got to put all of this together because think about it. In February, they've got to put all this in front of a jury. They're trying to get a change of venue.
Right.
Seeking pushed up Daisy said, who the hell is Maggie? Maggie Boswell. Megan, her nickname is Maggie, Evelyn's mother. So, I mean, between the two cases, we have a lot of similarities, but then we have the differences. And I think the differences in the two cases, the major difference is they found Evelyn, haven't found Summer. But the major differences besides that is the two sheriffs and the way they handled things in their county.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, do you think any charges will ever happen with Candace giving alcohol to Hunter or any other kids? My understanding is the statute of limitations on that is 2 years.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they've basically boiled it down to she's going to say she didn't, he's going to say she did, and it's going to be word against word, and they're just not going to pursue that.
Also, I've heard he's not a cooperating witness. So even though Hunter told Chris McDonough the tea was for me and she owed me a vape, he's not saying that anymore. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think everyone that was involved that day or involved in the family has a part of it that they're trying to keep under wraps, because that's why they're all running the same story or defending each other, at least to the point of not incriminating somebody else. Even Hunter at that point. I mean, if he saw something happen and had no involvement and thought it was crazy, he would have said something and thrown them under the bus. So clearly there's something that he feels like he's going to expose if he says something.
Yeah. I still wonder with Hunter in the Summer Wells case, why when Chris McDonough asked him about the placement of the milk in the back of the truck, why he's popping that thing and he's going, the milk, the milk, the milk, the milk. And then he's like, oh yeah, I put it there. Oh, I didn't want milk in the floor. I didn't want to spill the milk. Well, you can't spill the milk. It's sealed.
Yeah.
But then we find out later that the milk video wasn't even taken that day.
Right.
Why was he even going along with that? He could have easily been like, there was no milk back there.
I think at that point too, he's, like I said, I think like everybody was protecting some part of themselves in this case, and that he was covering his bases with her as well, because I assume he feels like if he comes out with something that they'll turn around and come out with something on him. I mean, that would be his mindset, I would assume. So then he would just go along with that to keep Candace and whoever else from saying anything as well.
Well, and I mean, back to the Evelyn Boswell case, same thing there. Neither Angela or Tattoo would cooperate with them at all because they had their own shit going on.
Right.
They wouldn't say anything. They could have cleared that up really fast and been like, we do not have Evelyn. But they let them spin their tires, look for gypsies, drain ponds, go to Mendota, Virginia, to different campsites looking for them when they could have easily said, we don't have her. We haven't even been to East Tennessee.
Right. And I see everybody talk about, because I heard when when stories came out about the Wells lawyering up in the two different cases, is while getting a lawyer does not obviously show you have guilt, not cooperating when you're 100% innocent is just impeding the case. There's no reason for you to be on the run or to say that you don't want to talk when you don't have any involvement.
Mm-hmm. And there was really no point in charging Angela and Tattoo with not cooperating because they had a slew of all these other charges on them. Then they made it worse. They went and they shoplifted from the Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
They had all the meth. They stole from her dad. Then it came out, Hunter's mom reported the BMW stolen. It comes out it's some kind of deal that Hunter made with them. Hunter and Maggie let them use this car. Why would Hunter, Chicken Shack, not Hunter in the Summer Wells case, I'm trying to make this not confusing, if he has nothing to do with the death or cover up, the murder of Evelyn Boswell, why would he have done such a magnificent favor for Angela and Tattoo? Why would he? Why would he let them use a BMW? His mom was having to go to court over this stolen car. Turns out it wasn't stolen. They had permission to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Why did he not say anything? No, I let them use the car. My mom actually gave it to my brother. I let them use it. And it was so that Angela could take her other minor children to the doctor and stuff, is what he said. Yet the wheels are already turning. That's what they got Angela and Tattoo on until they started all their meth stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Lex has a question on the screen. Can you answer that, Trevor?
Yes. So Warriors Path is in Kingsport, which is on the Sullivan County side.
Okay. specific. You said it was an older car. Yeah, that was part of the discussion too. It was just an older car, even though you hear BMW, people are thinking, oh, fancy, fancy. Still a nice car. I don't care if it was a car older than me. That's quite a favor to do for a couple of people you don't know. It was rumored for a long time that speculated that he let them use this car as a means to, when people weren't looking, get Evelyn off the property and somewhere way, way, way away so that neither him or Maggie would get in trouble for Evelyn's murder.
And that's another thing I feel like there's like a similarity between is people knowing and not knowing and trusting and not trusting people all at the same time. Like with Hunter and Allie in the Summer Wells case. How does your family distrust and hate that Allie's family that much, but allow Hunter to be around all the time, allow Allie to see your kid? And then it's the same in this case. It's how did he not know her parents enough, but he let them borrow that car and did all these other things? It just doesn't, both can't be true.
Nope. The minute Allie and Hunter started talking to Chris McDonough, Candace, they're crazy. I don't even like them. I just treat him like a son. Well, we don't want Candace to treat anybody like her own child. Okay. I think we can all agree on that.
Right.
So they're immediately, scum of the earth. Oh, those Wells. Oh my God. They abuse their kids. They're always drunk. Then they're crazy. She was hanging around this, that when McDonough asked Candace about Jose and they're terrible, terrible people. Same thing with the Evelyn Boswell case. Angela and Tattoo are such scum of the earth people, but you loan them a BMW?
Yeah. In the process of the case of this all going on too, not even just like in a regular time.
Yeah. This is after it was reported that Evelyn was missing.
Yeah,
That's when you decide to do these two scumbags a favor?
But then you also don't know them and don't trust them at the same time.
But you trust them with a car.
Yeah.
And I don't remember, because Hunter's mom, I don't know how she got pressed into saying that car was stolen, because nothing came of it, by the way. Nothing came of it. They did have to go to court several times. I don't know why Hunter Chicken Shack didn't get in trouble for filing a false police report. Probably because he had his mom do it. It seems that his mom would do anything for him.
Yeah. And that's probably what it came down to, is she always covered his butt and did well.
All right, so here's a news clip. I'm going to put this up. This is from when they found Evelyn.
Right now, I want to take you to the Tri-Cities, a press conference concerning the discovery of the remains believed to be that of missing toddler Evelyn Boswell, now underway. Let's take a listen.
For your assistance in sharing information about this case from the very beginning. This is certainly not the update we had hoped to provide this evening. Before we get started, you should know that this is a very active investigation. We understand that you have a lot of questions, but please understand, in order to preserve the integrity of the investigation, there's not a lot that we can release at this time. Sheriff Jeff Cassidy is going to give a brief statement, followed by District Attorney General Barry Stavas. Sheriff.
I'm Jeff Cassidy, Sheriff of Sullivan County. I first want to thank the community for their outpouring of love, support, and prayers for the last 17 days when sweet Evelyn was first reported missing. I want to thank the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and our detectives and officers for their persistence, dedication, and hard work in trying to locate Evelyn. This evening, we received information that led TBI agents and Sullivan County detectives to a property belonging to a family member of Evelyn's mother in the 500 block of Muddy Creek Road in Blumpville. During the search, investigators discovered human remains believed to be those of a 15-month-old girl. The remains will be sent for an autopsy and a positive identification. At this time, the investigation is in the very early stages. There is a lot of work left to be done, and right now, this is the extent of what we can provide today. I would now like to introduce our District Attorney General, Barry Staubus, who can advise you how the case will progress from here on forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Jim.
I first want to say I want to thank law enforcement. We've been involved as part of the investigation since its inception, and it's been excellent working relationship with our office and the TBI, the Sheriff's Department, and the FBI. And at this point, as the Sheriff pointed out, we're just in the beginning stages of the investigation. And at this point, we're just going to continue working. There's a lot of work to still be done. And at that, we will evaluate our case and what we're going to do next after we conclude our investigation. So based on what has happened tonight, there's a lot of work to be done forensically and just old-fashioned investigative work. So thank you.
Thank you for coming.
All right. So again, you have been watching. It was a very short news conference tonight. This is out of the Tri-Cities tonight. You heard several different agencies speaking again, but being confirmed there from Sheriff Jeff Cassidy in Sullivan County that human remains believed to be that of a 15-month-old were discovered on the property belonging to a family member of Evelyn Boswell's mother, Megan Boswell. Right now, they still say that there's still a lot to be looked at. This is still an active investigation. We're going to continue to follow this for you and, of course, keep you up to date both on air and online at WATE.com.
Okay, like I said, familiar faces. That is Leslie, the public information officer for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. That's when me anyway, first saw her was with the Evelyn Boswell case. Several times in the Evelyn Boswell case, the sheriff has had to choke back tears, much like what we witnessed with the Harmony Montgomery case. Also, Leslie, as you can see, almost 3 years ago, because it'll be 3 years in February. This press conference was, that was in March. It said, okay, March 6th of 2020 is when they did this press conference. She has the same script. Okay, guys. If you notice, she said, I understand you have a lot of questions. She says that every time they talk about Summer Wells, but this is still a very active investigation. Did you grab that too, Trevor?
Yeah. And I know I've seen multiple people reach out to her, and I've spoken to her about Summer's case specifically multiple times, and that's where she goes with that most of the time.
Yep, they say the same thing in every conference, every news conference, which they have to. They have to be very careful about what they say. Not because of us. They don't care about what we say. I know that's one thing that some people can't grasp. What we talk about, what we speculate, it's slow. I'm sure it's an annoyance. Let me put it that way. Because when Jeff Cassidy, the sheriff of Sullivan County, was talking about Evelyn Boswell, besides talking about the case, he said he'd never seen anything like it before, ever. He mentioned in one of these press conferences, he said, there's a Facebook group with over 30,000 people in it. It was like he was about to faint. He said, there is a Facebook group with over 30,000 people in it. The DA in this press conference, again, explained this was not something that they were ready to tackle and take on. Besides all the insane stories that they had to investigate from the mother herself, Maggie Boswell, they had a lot of social media going on there. I think that same psychic, that Juanita that came for Summer, I think she was there for Evelyn too. But he said working with the TBI and the FBI, and of course they still got to keep working together. It's still ongoing.
Right.
There was something else that stuck out to me that's a similarity between these two. Well, I drew a blank. Like Dawn and Candace, they use the they're such classy people. They're always saying she was just gone. Summer's just gone.
Yeah.
He told Jeff Bobo, she's just gone, buddy. She's just gone. Maggie's words were always vanished.
Mm-hmm.
Yet she knew supposedly who had her. She knew her mother had her at a campground. This was after she said Evelyn's dad took her back to the army barracks in Louisiana with him after Christmas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he'd be the only one there, of course. Nobody else stays there, so nobody would see him.
Absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. I still think that with the Evelyn case, I know it's still ongoing. I mean, the case is not shut down by any means. It's just really hard for me to get past Chicken Shack. Mm-hmm. I just really think, I'm not saying that he put Evelyn in the trash can. I'm not saying he wrapped her up with aluminum foil and all the disgusting things that we're getting ready to hear. I just think that he knew a lot more and could possibly have been part of covering it up. I mean, loaning the BMW to the people that supposedly had her kind of said it all to me. What do you think?
I agree. And I think that when trial comes where he wasn't charged in the case, she'll use that to deflect off her, just similar to how I look at the Casey Anthony case, because this case we talk about here about how we don't want, obviously, her to somehow get off like that, but how she deflected so much towards her dad. And I think Megan might get to a point where she's so desperate that she'll deflect at trial time on him just to induce that uncertainty in the jury, even though it probably won't obviously work, but that'll be their go-to, I think, because there's no other case she has now. I mean, the rollover case was toast, before it even started, but as soon as we heard how she was found and where she was found, that threw that out the window. So she's out of options.
Yep. And I don't know why this was put out, but it's totally not true. Remember the pictures of Evelyn where she's got the pink bow in her hair and she's got the jogging suit on, kind of like Summer Wells?
Mm-hmm.
Only Summer didn't have a bow in her hair. And it was said that she was found peacefully wrapped in a blanket with her toys all around her in this Rubbermaid tub. Now we find out that is not at all what happened to Evelyn.
Right. I mean, even the blanket part the blanket was said to be so tight on her that it was pushing her facial features in. And that's before we even get to, the foil and the way her body was shaped and everything else.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to put that news clip up. This came out just a few days ago where they finally, after all this time, tell us what happened to Evelyn Boswell. Needless to say, I don't need to put a trigger warning up. If this is something that you guys don't think you're going to be able to handle hearing, by all means, don't, because it's awful. We say it in every single case. When it comes out, it's going to be 10 times worse than anything we could imagine. We've speculated many times about Summer Wells, especially when Candace said it smothers me and we have the missing pillow. What happened to the pillow? Where's the pillow? We have Candace saying that she looked under a mattress that was on a concrete floor. She went through all the blankets. She was just gone. Well, Maggie, after spinning all of her lies, everything from a campground in Virginia, it was basically always trying to pin it on her mom and the boyfriend, which I guess would be a likely scenario, except that meth heads don't want to keep up with kids and they have no reason to have them around. Angela had her own kids if she wanted to go, and people said it's because of trafficking. They have to traffic for their meth. That's what they kept saying.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
A woman accused of killing her 15-month-old baby appeared in court this afternoon.
At Megan Boswell's hearing today in Bluntville, a judge heard arguments over whether certain photographs could be used as evidence and shown to jurors when the case goes to trial. Megan Boswell's accused of killing her then 15-month-old daughter, Evelyn, over 2 years ago. Now she faces 2 counts of felony murder and is accused of lying to investigators. Her daughter's remains were found on a family member's property.
In today's hearing, a forensic pathologist said Evelyn's cause of death was asphyxia, and a TBI agent said her body was found inside of a trash can in a playhouse.
Ansley Daniel has been in the courtroom throughout the day monitoring the graphic testimony. Ansley, let's go through the developments that came out of the hearing today.
Well, Josh and Sarah, a lot of information came out of this 3-hour hearing today that detailed the photos of the night that Evelyn was found. Now, the purpose of today's hearing was to decide which photos could be used in trial. They weren't shown today, but were only described in testimony. That testimony, though, revealed that Evelyn died of asphyxiation or suffocation. The state did bring in a forensic pathologist to explain how these photos reveal her cause of death, along with how decomposed her body was when it was found. It explained that Evelyn was found inside of a playhouse, but that her body was wrapped in aluminum foil, then inside what is described as a thick fleece blanket. She was then put in a trash bag and placed upside down in a garbage can.
What's really important for me was to show the placement of the foil and how tightly actually one can see the outline of the head and upper body with the foil being attached. So it's not crumpled foil from somebody, I don't know, barbecuing or doing something and then putting it next to the child. It's actually wrapped around the upper part of the child.
The photos also show indentions on Evelyn's head and body from the foil and blanket, and show that her body was in a position the pathologist said wouldn't allow her to breathe. The court did have to take a recess before getting deep into that testimony today because Megan Boswell hadn't seen the photos before today's hearing. She was visibly crying when she walked back into the courtroom this afternoon.
The pictures that we went back and went through are very graphic and just very disturbing. And, you know, she reacted the way I would expect any of us to. You know, it was very upsetting. Unfortunately, I've had the opportunity to look at those pictures over and over again.
He has had to deal with this bitch for years. You can't say it was an accident, Megan, Maggie, whatever you want to go by. When your child was in a trash can, it'll come out upside down, thrown face down in a trash can, aluminum foil in her mouth, wrapped around her tiny little body. She was alive. Wrap her in foil. Now she wants a new attorney because he doesn't want to go with her defense. He can't go with her defense. How can he argue an accident when this baby, this beautiful little baby, her head was hyperextended to her back? Like the back of her head was touching her back. You can't do that. Wrapped in foil, they said the blanket is so tight around her that the indention of her little face was in that blanket. How can you say that just happened rolling over in bed, Maggie? How?
I say if she wants a new attorney, she needs to represent herself at this point. Forget wasting any more time.
There you go. They'll eat her alive. And for her to be upset because she had to see the pictures of her dirty work.
of her doing. That's why, and the only reason she wanted to see him is so she could be crying for the camp, because she knew the camp, everybody was in there, and it was better that she looked upset. So she went and looked at the pictures, because she didn't need to see these pictures. She's the one who caused them. If she didn't do this, the pictures wouldn't be there.
Now, I'm wondering about her new defense. Is she going to finally turn on Hunter? Is she going to say that he was in on it with her? They've been waiting on this because it's too weird that he arranged for her meth head mom and boyfriend with the face tattoo to get a hold of his mother's BMW to take kids to the doctor. They don't care about taking kids to the doctor. They don't care about stuff like that. That he got an attorney the day of or the day after he gave his interview to WJHL. Is she finally going to say he helped cover it up? I don't know. But for some reason, her attorney is not going to go down whatever road she's trying to do. That or he's already made a deal. I don't think he really needs to make a deal, considering they have Evelyn. They have her wrapped in foil. She was in a trash can on the family property that Megan had access to. It was also said early on this was a playhouse that Maggie, her grandpa had built for her. None of that was true. None of that was true. It was in an old storage shed. Nasty trash can. She stuffed her down in there. Stuffed her down in there so hard that it hyperextended her neck. The back of her skull, the back of her head, little Evelyn, was touching her back.
The photos weren't the only point of contention today. Court started by Boswell asking for a new attorney. She and Scrolls told the judge that they are not on the same page when it comes to this case, and that all came to a head today as he said they weren't able to effectively prepare for this hearing. The judge denied that request, but said that could change depending on how they work together in the future. The judge only decided to omit a handful of photos from the trial. He said in his eyes, especially after today's testimony, they are all relevant when it comes to finding out what happened to Evelyn Boswell. In Bluffville, Annalee Daniel, News Channel 11.
Why would Maggie not want want the jury to see the pictures of Evelyn?
You can't make it up.
No. Everybody's entitled to a good defense. I get it. But, it takes the balls of a burglar to say, just let me do the talking and don't show him any evidence. Really? Don't show him those pictures. Laverne, Maggie is her nickname. Megan Boswell. What do you guys all think? Of course, I'm asking Trevor, but everybody in chat. What do you think, Maggie Boswell? What do you think her motivation was for stuffing Evelyn in that trash can? If anybody wants to grab the link, come up and chat with me and Trevor. I said it years ago, and I don't mean I could be wrong. I just think her motivation was him. I think it was Chicken Shack. It's almost It's almost like Susan Smith. Susan Smith had to get rid of her children because the guy that she was infatuated with that owned the grocery store in her town didn't want kids. So she got rid of her kids. Turned out, what about the kids? He flat out said it in court, looked right at her and said, I didn't want you. Have a feeling Hunter's going to be saying the same thing when he's on the stand. Muscles and mascara, what's going on?
Oh, I just got to pop in a little bit. Sorry, my voice is still a little rotten. So,
You don't sound any better. I'm worried about you.
yeah, I've not got my blood work results back. We'll see what that's about today. So, you can understand me a little bit better than when I've been able to talk. So I guess that's an improvement. But,
We blamed you being sick on a football game.
do what?
I said, we blamed you being sick on that football game.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was too. But it doesn't appear that's the case. So we keep spiking a fever. It's crazy. But this case right here is, I don't know if you knew this, and I wrote it in a Discord message, or I was going to write it in a Discord message. I don't even know if I did. But I literally had to go and talk to somebody after this case when this was going on because it affected me so bad, and didn't even know what we know today at the time. And I think it was because it was, it was one of the first cases around our area even before summer. So that was, it was just really hard for me. I don't know why it struck me, besides it being a child. I mean, obviously, it said something, it was different, so I actually had to go speak to somebody to get some coping stuff. And I'm thankful I did because it's prepared me for what was coming in the future, obviously. But I will be, if at all possible and we're allowed, I will be in attendance at this trial as much as possible. So long as it's not moved and, I'm not going to take away from my family and stuff like that. And I'll just have to work in between times. But I want to see justice served for this little baby. And I want Megan, so help me God. She had people running all over China trying to find this little girl, and in places that didn't even make sense. She had them running around in places in Virginia and in Tennessee.
Rained a pond in North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina. Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. So I will be attending as much as possible. So, if they allow it.
And mind you, this is just conversation. You know how we roll here. I mean, just speculation. Yeah. Since Dawn and Candace Wells brought up this particular case several times when they were talking,
yep.
Do you think they took notes from it on like what not to do? Obviously, they screwed everything up all the way around. But yeah. Dawn said that they felt like they were being persecuted like Maggie Boswell. Candace brought her up several times.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it made me absolutely sick and nauseous whenever they talked about that, because you have to wonder if that is in fact maybe what's happened here, that they took, part of their script was, taken off of a real life case here that just happened right before Summer went missing. You can't help but think that. I mean, that's what I say.
Yeah, think about it. Because when Candace was talking to, I think it was Cam and Allie, and she was just being her best self. She was all hopped up on the R&R, and she said, I'm not comfortable with the script.
Yeah.
And they brought this case up several times. Well, it's very local to them. I'm not saying Dawn and Candace are avid news watchers, but I have a feeling if you're in East Tennessee, there's no way you weren't going to hear about this case.
Especially around here locally. So yeah, I mean, you didn't even have to watch the news to hear about it. I mean, it was a huge ordeal, and you can't help but speculate and wonder. I mean, truly, you can't, Brooks. I mean, that's very true, very true, and it scares me and it frightens me and it infuriates me. I am so livid over what has came out of poor Evelyn. Oh my God, there is not a human being in this world that deserves to draw another breath on this earth without being just flat out tortured. And I hate to say that, but I'm sorry. That's how I feel about it. After doing what you have done to that child. That is horrible. Horrible. And anybody that thinks any differently, I'm sorry. There's no excuse for it. There's zero excuse for what she done to that baby. There is zero. Sorry. But she deserves the same treatment. And
Her
you know what?
her boyfriend from the chicken shack. And she still tries to involve him in everything. We were sleeping in bed and rolled over on her. The doctor that was on the stand said there was 4 points of a fixation. 4
Yeah.
points. Her head was bent all the way back to touching her back. She had foil in her mouth.
Yep.
She was wrapped in aluminum foil. She was wrapped tightly in a blanket. That's not from rolling over in bed.
No, it's not. No, no, it's not. And so you just felt the need that you want to use the story that you rolled over in the bed. Well, then how did she get in the trash can and in the position she was in then? I mean, you just shoved her in there afterwards, regardless of the fact you're still guilty of everything, whatever your little stupid excuses are. But I'm sorry, you don't deserve any other treatment than exactly what you did to that young lady in the exact manner that you did it. That's all that they deserve. That's it. There's no other way around it. And the moment our government will figure it out, that if we can start doing this to the people that are doing these things to these kids, if they get the same treatment, besides sitting back and getting to watch TV 24/7, or get their meals handed to them on the silver platter and let them get a pat on the back every day, piss on that. I am so done with that. Some of this crap would stop.
Amen.
It would stop. And I'm sick and I'm to that point. These two cases here absolutely set me on fire. And I mean on fire. And I know that there's other cases that's just as bad. God, I know that. And that makes me want to throw up saying those words. But these two, this one right here, they should treat her the same way. And it would stop this crap. It would. We have no punishment anymore in this freaking country. None. None. Not a deservable punishment. And then if you get a death sentence, you get to sit out there for 30 years. Piss on that too. I'm sorry. If you are that cruel to a child, you don't deserve breath. You don't. And you sure don't get to deserve it with a final meal. Piss on you. Those kids didn't get a final meal. So piss on you in your final meal. I'm sorry, Brex. I'm telling you, I'm tore all to pieces over it.
It's disgusting. And like I said, it's all of this for, like I said, the dude at the chicken shack. The most emotion up until she had to see her dirty work. She had to see what she did, the pictures, and the most emotion she showed. Now, she tried to cry in the beginning, much like Candace. She tried to.
Oh, yeah.
She tried her hardest. She wasn't exactly soap opera ready, if you know what I mean. The most emotion she had is when the one time she was confronted by a family member and said, by the way, Hunter Chicken Shack has a new girlfriend. They've been jet skiing. They're on Instagram together. She lost it.
I really wanted to come up here and talk, and I probably shouldn't have, because I come up here with a moment, but this just has to stop. I mean, it just has to stop. It really does. It has to freaking stop. And it has to stop that it's taken all this time to get justice. And there's no reason why, why are we still talking about Dawn and Candace not being behind bars? Why are we still talking about them when there's been enough to do something to get them inside, to interrogate them, to do something? I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I've just grown exhausted with it. I'll be honest. I have. And that is so sad, that we're still talking about why something hasn't been done. Just something. And I don't understand it. I don't.
I don't know why that Dawn and Candace aren't in jail for endangerment, neglect. I don't know. Trevor just talking about that. I don't know if you caught the whole show or not.
I didn't. I just got to hop in the last 20 minutes or so. But yeah, I agree. Why are they not?
Well, there's some people out there that want this kinder, gentler society.
Yeah,
They want that. Now I get, being nice to the person behind the counter and who you're on the phone with. I get that.
absolutely. Absolutely.
But it's taken on a different form, and the inmates are running the asylum now.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's okay we want the world to be a nicer place. I think we all can support that message. But when you make it to jail or prison, you don't deserve anything but what you've done for the reason that you're there. And if you harm a child, you deserve that treatment. Period. I'm sorry. There is
Exactly.
no excuse to hurt a child. None whatsoever.
And there's this
None.
ridiculous push now nationwide in so many states to get rid of sex offender registries because it hurts the people on the list
Yeah.
and to lower the sentencing for them. It's like, where is this coming from? Like, why are we being, out of anybody to be lenient on why these disgusting monsters? Like, no, I don't care that their name is on a list. They shouldn't have done these things, and they wouldn't be
Nor
on there.
do I. Exactly.
That's been discussed in California for like 5 years now, to not make the sex offender list public because of what stigma it has put on those people. I don't believe those people can be reformed, and I believe that every parent has the right to know what's living next door to them.
You damn right. Absolutely.
In Virginia recently, they had found out that an employee there was on the sex offender registry for months. They hadn't checked when they hired him. He was working in a school as a counselor.
Wow.
Dumbasses.
Wow.
If I was a parent and my kid was going to a school and seeing the counselor that was a sex offender, I would be livid. That would be insane.
Yeah. And I do know there's cases where there's certain people on a registry that it don't make sense to have them on it when it comes to kids and minors and one got mad at the other and then dads, those situations I get, but they should be looked at closer. You know what I mean? If it's a 16 and an 18-year-old or whatever, and one gets pregnant and then she,
Right.
those situations are entirely different. But
Well,
outside of that, these people are friggin' monsters. They should have to walk around with the sign around their damn neck, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And they should find a way to be able to separate that too, because, like you said, there are cases that shouldn't be involved on there. But there's a way to make it where you don't have to include them on there and not give all these people rights that they don't deserve.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
And it's not even like, I feel like they used to be such a radical idea, but now it's like a legitimate push. There's so many. I had it out with 2 NYU professors who are pushing this big reform to all these different states to ask them to get rid of the registry and to make it more lenient and less people on it. And I talked to them and they defended it. And I'm like, how do you go about your day? How do you take the breath that you were given today to take your time and defend people who get on the sex offender registry?
Yeah. How do you? And you know what's super sad is that's the same people that'll stand there and stomp their feet and want this done and want that done for no reasons whatsoever, while the rest of us are out here going, why are we doing this, and even having this conversation, and then turn around and have something happen to one of their children, and what are they going to do? What are you going to say then? You're the one that asked for this leniency. That's the problem we have now. Our judicial system is so freaking lenient on people who do horrific things to other human beings. That's why we are where we are today. Everybody gets a participation trophy. God forbid we offend somebody. Piss on every bit of that. That's why we are where we are. And it's not going to improve.
I mean, you don't want to go out of your way just to piss somebody off or be I'll say whatever I want to say. I don't care what they do. So you have those assholes. Now, mind you, if you press them back, they crumble like a stale cookie. Okay? Trust me. I've done it. You have I don't care. I'll say whatever I want to say. But the minute you talk to them about this is going to be your final paycheck, it's a different story.
Absolutely.
It's a different story. Or, that's a different story. But then you have what we're talking about right here. We don't want it to be hard on people that should never be out of jail anyway, because they prey on children. They should never be out of jail anyway. But when they do serve their 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, whatever, What's Josh Duggar going to be out in 8 to 10 years?
It's disgusting.
They don't put them on a list because they've served their time, and it makes it hard for them to get a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Forget what it does to every child that they've harmed and will never be able to live this down. No child ever truly gets over it. People don't get that, but the act that happened carries with them forever. To what degree depends on obviously the situation and the child and everything that the help they get, but it's something that sticks with people.
Amen.
And if a
Amen to
child
that.
next 50 worrying about that and remembering that and having PTSD, then you can go on a sex offender registry list and you can be denied a job and you can have these things happen to you.
Absolutely.
And then we have these two cases. We don't know where Summer is, what happened to Summer, where she could be at this point. Pruitt says he believes she's around there somewhere.
You know what, Pruitt? Go find her then. Damn it. Go find her. Tired of hearing that too, weren't you?
Yeah, she's
around there somewhere. Well, have you been out there somewhere looking for her? I mean, that's where I'm. God. Sorry, Brooks. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, he said, no, you're not. She's around there somewhere. I mean, I don't know what the focus of that investigation is. The latest thing that we have is when Court K tweeted Leslie at TBI, and she said, yeah, this is definitely a criminal investigation because we haven't ruled out foul play. That's why I go back to the Maggie Boswell, the Evelyn Boswell case. Dawn and Candace have brought this case up many times.
Yeah.
It's like they dotted their I's and crossed their T's, not to mention the fact that they had pretty good training with the fact that nobody has seen hide or hair of Rose Bly since she went missing in Wisconsin in 2009?
Yeah.
Well, Don, right before he went to jail, he had posted clips of that show, How to Make a Murder, or whatever. He posted some clips from those episodes on his Facebook page.
Jesus.
It's like they've made like a game show out of this. Like they just.
You're exactly right. Sorry, Henny, I didn't ever talk. You go ahead.
No, I was just saying they've definitely made this to be a joke. I mean, they'll go to Hollywood, but they won't lift a finger to find her.
You're exactly right. That's a perfect analogy. You're exactly right, because that's where we're at. They've made a game out of every bit of it. It's been a laughing matter. When you have a missing child and you yourself show up on a social media platform and then you get mad because people are continuously talking about it because they care and want to find justice and want to find her and then give her justice, and you're mad over it. I mean, do you need any more red flags to wave in front of your face? It's just, oh God, it's so frustrating. And to know that both of these lie within 15 minutes of my freaking yard. I'm telling y'all, it's more than I can take at this moment. It's just, it's too much. It's too friggin' much.
And with Dawn, I've had an issue with him since the beginning. Within the first few days of Summer missing, I was down I had a bunch of flyers printed and was down at the command center and offered him, I had a card with my number and what I wanted to give him some flyers. And Dawn just didn't want the help at all from the jump.
No, I did not know you were local. Brooks, I didn't know you had a local up here. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm in Sullivan County. I'm up here.
Okay, awesome. I'm in Hawkins, so.
Oh, we can do a lunch date.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I too was at the command center, when all this first went down, and did supplies and stuff like that for the people that were out searching. So, and I've also printed many of flyers and hung all over this place to turn around and find out in 2 or 3 days someone had taken them down. And I went through the trouble of making sure that the businesses were okay with me doing it, and they were gone.
Yep, I put one up so I've gone and I did a public or a private property search with the group, but I've done searches on public land on different trails and different parts connecting to Warriors Path. And I put up a flyer out there, and when I came back next time to continue searching, it was gone.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad that there's another person that can vouch for that, because everybody was like, there's no flyers anywhere. That whole community don't care, when all this first going on. And I'm like, you all don't understand, because there has been plenty of flyers put out. all over this place. And it would be 2 or 3 days later, you go back, or just, you're out at this gas station that you put it up at, and they were gone. I mean, they were just gone.
Exactly. I had somebody follow me around when I was searching, when I was out there in one of the areas. It was public property, but I was out there searching, and somebody was out there following my steps.
Yeah, and also Trevor was saying there's still quite a few people that are big supporters of Don and Candace. And also,
Well, I hope I don't find them.
Kind of a case comparison. If you go back to when it hit the news everywhere, this little girl's been missing for a month. This baby, 15 months old, been missing for a month. Maggie was invited, her mother, many times. Can you come out? We're doing a vigil. We're putting up flyers. She had no time for any of that, much like Candace.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, that sickened me. I was at the year vigil, and nobody was there from the family. I mean, I know Don was in jail, but Candace wasn't there. I mean, nobody even cared to come out. We were all out there for summer, and the own family couldn't even come out. And I mean, like you said, do you need any more flags to wave? I mean, this is written on our foreheads. Like, this is it. Look at this.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
Well, not to mention, a few weeks ago, a lady thought she saw Summer Wells in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Of course, people are like, oh my God, call the police. Somebody's got to go check on this child. The whole, come on. Well, 2 people were not concerned. Can't say anything about Don because he's sitting in a jail cell. He wouldn't have known. Candace and Grandis. There was no cause of concern. There was no, I've got to get to Jonesboro and see if this is my child. I've got to get over there. Nothing. And don't say she wasn't told, and don't say you don't know what she did behind the scenes. I'm not doing that today. She was not concerned.
Exactly.
Also, you don't do things when this is a public case, and when your child is missing, you don't do things behind the scene. You do things publicly, whether on the news, on a YouTube, on some platform, because you standing out in your yard and preaching about where Summer is not going to get her found. It's going on these different news stations and platforms, and there are plenty that she can go on.
See?
So behind the scenes, what is she going to be talking to herself? Like, this doesn't make sense.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I fussed about too, Trevor. During especially that sighting that, we were talking about that on here one day, me and Brooks, and that's exactly what we were saying. Like, she did nothing. She absolutely did nothing. She has yet to beg and plead. There are plenty of news outlets people that she can reach out to do that. Or, you didn't care to sit on freaking camera and smoke and drink rock and rye or whatever it is that you drank, but you can't get on there and plead for your child. It tells me all you need to friggin' know.
Well, and in the Evelyn Boswell case, it turns out that they went to that particular, because search warrants are specific. And we've talked about that in other cases. You can't just tear up the whole county.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be nice if you could, but you just can't do it. So they're specific. When Tommy Boswell, Evelyn's grandfather, called TBI or the sheriff's office, I'm not sure which one he called, and said, have you checked this old storage unit on the property? Of course, he gave them permission. I don't think they had to get a warrant. So obviously that's a credible tip. Now, the den of liars that has surrounded Summer Wells her whole life, I think it's safe to say there will never be a credible tip from any of them.
Nope.
No. Not at all.
And one thing that's so disturbing is they found out that she was gone. I mean, so they started coming out and talking about how she was gone, and they just seemed okay with it. Like, they said, we think she was abducted, and then they were just fine writing it off as she's never coming back. Like, I've never seen a parent of a missing child just go, they're gone. Like, a few days later. I get years and years later having to cope with that. I know there's the separate part of that. You have to eventually do that. But early on, I've never met a parent who was just like, oh, they're gone? Well, okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Don said they'll never find her.
And he was okay with that. That's the crazy part, too, is he said it, and then he was just like, okay. Like,
yeah, like it was just a common thing to say. I mean,
like, it's like, yeah, my daughter's gone, and we're never going to see her again, and we're going to brunch tomorrow at Denny's. Like,
yeah.
June 18th, 2021. Don's doing his first interview with Jeff Bobo. Jeff Bobo brings up Rose Bly. He said, "You also have a sister-in-law missing." Hell, you had to remind Don. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And he goes, "Yeah, they never found her either, buddy. Never found her either. Summer's been missing 3 days.
Yeah.
You're already hanging up your hat saying that's it. Time to go home. Shut the band down. Forget it. It's all done. They never found her either." This was 3 days in, my friends. This was 3 days in.
Yeah, you cannot tell me that he was a loving parent. I mean, there's plenty of other things that show this too, but you cannot tell me that as a normal, functioning, loving parent to just go, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
She's gone, buddy. That's what he said. She's gone, buddy. This was 3 days in. This isn't the craziness he did on YouTube when he was all hopped up on whatever. This was talking to Jeff Bobo 3 days after Summer disappeared.
Yeah, and I think that's the frustrating part is it, like you said, I understand that there comes a time during these things where you have to cope with the fact that they may never be found or never be seen or whatever, but 3 days in is not when you do that at all.
Right, like I see with the Rose case by now, Grandis and I'm not sure about their involvement in that either, but just separate from that, I see this amount of time passing to go, okay, we're probably gonna never see her again, and being able to cope with that to move on or to move on as much as they can. But with Summer, it's like 3 days later and you just decide your daughter is gone. It's okay.
Well, and you know what? I've always said in my opinion too that I feel like if anything, Grandis should have had more of a reaction because it brought back terrible, that would be traumatic. That would be like a PTSD moment. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. This has happened to me again. Like, I would just, and I would hate to even admit it, but I'd be like, God, what are you doing to me? Like, I can't do this again. You know what I mean? I feel like that's how I would react if in fact this was a situation that I would just be questioning everything. Like, I cannot physically go through this again. And you didn't see that. You heard her say it 8 whatever months later, whatever it was. You heard her say that, but there was no emotion behind it. She said it because it was the right thing to say.
And she was asked. And she was asked. She didn't bring it up. It was brought up to her. And the big difference, obviously, between Rose and Summer is Rose is a grown adult.
Yeah.
Kids do not, no one just disappears. No one just gets gone. There's always something there. So I can't understand it. I shouldn't say it that way. So there's obviously that big difference. But then you have the similarity, Grandis and Candace.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
And it's just so odd. Like, and Grandis was the same way on social media right after, arguing with people and then posting the most random things like, share this if you could pass the drug test. That's when she blogged me on social media because I was so tired of seeing her stuff. She said, share this if you can pass the drug test. And I said, share this if you could pass a lie detector test. And I'm no longer on her Facebook, but I'm longer blocked. Like, I was just, it's the things that they get on there and say. They were on social media and not even pleading for their daughter. What do you have time for when your child is missing besides finding them?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And Trevor, I'm so glad that you're up here as a local, that, there's just another way of, another voice to be heard, that, we freaking do care. We truly do care, like super bad we care. And the other part of it is, I would love to have a deeper, further conversation. If it's between just me and you or me, you and Brooks, I would love to have a conversation. What can we do from this point forward to put pressure back on whoever needs the pressure applied to give us answers for this young lady? Like, I know that we don't deserve to know certain aspects of the investigation. I know it. I don't want to know, if it's going to impede or whatever, but we deserve some kind of update. Because Trevor, I don't know how you feel, and I don't know if you have children, and it's not even important for you to tell me yes or no. What's important for me is we know that this is not an abduction, right? I mean, we wholeheartedly feel that way. We don't know that. We've not been told that. They don't think it's an abduction. They've ruled it out supposedly, but where's she at? So as community members, we deserve to know if there's a psycho. No, take away from everything we know that Dawn and Candace have done and with the way we feel about them. But we deserve to know if there's some kind of psycho out here napping children or whatever it is. We deserve to know that as community members. And we are not getting that information. And for me, that really pisses me off. I don't know how you feel about it, but that is like a strong thing for me right now.
Well, the FBI card unit said there's no sign of abduction.
That's true. They did say that.
And the lady at the TBI who oversees the Amber Alerts was taken off the case once the FBI made that determination. So to answer your question, and no, I'm not local, you do have a psycho, and she's hanging out in Dandridge, Tennessee, my friend.
Well, that's very true too. So, but do we, as community members, we get nothing? You know what I mean? And regardless if we're community members or not, but I just feel like I don't know how Trevor feels about this situation, but I just feel like there's this sense of there's nobody that I know that is familiar with this case or close to it that has forgotten about Summer. Don't take me the wrong way when I say this, because that's not what I'm saying. However, I just feel like there's not enough urgency anymore, and it's really frustrating for me. Like it scares me, because let's say that God forbid something happened to my child, and there was no involvement by me. Does it not freak you out as a community member to think that things could just be nonchalantly being handled? Or am I starting to go freaking crazy thinking about it the way I'm thinking about it now, that, they're still doing their part and we're just not seeing it. And, the writing's on the wall for all of us, and it is for law enforcement too. And it's fine. I just don't know how to feel anymore.
Well, if you look at Evelyn's case, you can see, because I can't believe they let this information out. So you can see, even though they're not telling the community, and they want the community to get back with their regular lives, and not worry about what they've got going on. Sick but true. They do want people to move on from these cases. So what grasps somebody 3 years ago, they expect that those people will fall away. That Facebook group that Jeff Cassidy talked about with 30,000 people in it, that group's been renamed. It doesn't have 30,000 people in it anymore. People move on. That's what they want them to do. So then you get a news clip like what came out last week, and you see in March of 2020, they already knew what happened to Evelyn. They didn't tell the public. So the same with Summer. They might already know. They're trying to find Summer. I'm just trying to make it a little easier. Which doesn't. What do you think, Trevor?
I agree, and I see it both ways, and I think as a local too, it's hard to think that there's this going on and us not knowing, especially with Summer's case even more, because with Evelyn's, I think we've all pretty much nailed down. We don't know everyone involved, but we know that this was her mom and whoever else involved that did it. But with Summer's case, it's like where they've got everything still out there, and I know they can't nail anything down until they find proof, but it just makes you wonder, like she said, it's like, what is going on here? And we do deserve to know to an extent of what's going on, because we're the ones that live here. Like TBI gets brought in from their places and FBI got brought in from their stations, but we're the ones that walk these streets and drive down these roads and walk these sidewalks and have people and have kids in these schools and things like that. So we need to know.
Yeah. It's just scary. It's just scary when you think about it in a different way. And it's hard for me to get my point across. And you said it very, very well, Trevor, just then. It's just, and we all deserve to know. It's not just us locals. Everybody deserves to know, because everybody's a lot of people have really weighed in on this case and have done a lot of time, a lot of research. I mean, God forbid, thank the Lord that it's happened that way. So everybody deserves to know. Without a doubt, everybody deserves to know. It's just it just feels. It feels really weird, like you said, that you walk these streets and you know nothing about what truly happened at this point. And it's really kind of scary. I mean, it's scary to think, could it have been somebody, did they hire somebody to do this? Is this person, somebody that's right beside it? You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. There's just not knowing who all's involved and not knowing this and that. there's just a level of it makes you feel really weird. I mean, it makes you feel kind of like you don't really know where you're at anymore. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It's hard for me to explain, but
I get what
it's
you're saying, and I agree. And off stream, I would like to talk to you both too, and I could share some what we've got going on to work like specific with this case, because after I put up my reward, I made some connections within TBI and within people involved in this case, and there's a couple things going on that I'm pushing for and hoping that we can get going to keep this out there and what we were talking about.
okay,
YouTube
good, because I mean that's what
connect.
I'm looking for.
YouTube
Because I put up like a few days in, I put up that $2,000 reward, so I was able to get connected after that too.
Okay, okay,
Does
yeah,
it
I would love to.
treat you, Muscles? Because I know Trevor, we were talking about earlier in the show, the difference in how the sheriff of Sullivan County, how he dealt with Evelyn's mother. Well, I can't call her that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How Ronnie Lawson dealt with Candace. Candace definitely impeded this investigation. She definitely lied. Yet Megan, she gets thrown in jail for false reporting, and maybe because Candace didn't make a false report. I don't know.
Yeah, I've always said, and it's funny that you mentioned that, Brooks, because I have always said that if Cassidy was in charge of this, I just feel like things were, you could watch his facial expressions during his news conferences and stuff, and I'm sure you saw this yourself, Trevor, but you could read his expression plain as day on his face. There was no bullshit in this man at all. He was fed up, and he was ready to throw the book at her. Like you could just see it on his face. Like he was not here to play any kind of game except for getting justice and finding Evelyn. Like you could see it on his face.
Personal.
And
it was personal.
Absolutely.
He and I talked about that case, and I know that we talked about that and talked about in the future what we can do in Sullivan County, because he's also more proactive on that too. It's so easy to reach him. Like I reached out to him and he gave me his phone number, and now we're connected. Whereas if another kid goes missing, there's steps that we're going to take also as a community to be able to support them, because he knows what it takes and he's okay asking for people to also do these other things. Whereas I feel like in Hawkins County, it's just like, it's me, I'm doing it, and that's it.
Well, that's really comforting, Trevor. I'll say that because, and I would love to be a part of whatever we can do to, to just, I want there to be change here. I want there to be something done in the name of summer, because this is just, I mean, we all feel that way, but I want to make an impact somehow, some way, whatever way that is. So if there's anything that I can do to help out or just be that another loud voice, wanting something done, then please let me know. That's what I've been trying to figure out, like where can I even start? And it's just, I don't even really know. So I would love to have that connection. That would be freaking awesome.
Absolutely. I'd love to connect with you both later about this, because I have a nonprofit here in the Tri-Cities for it's the Gabby Foundation. My classmate and her mother were killed a couple years ago due to domestic violence. And so we've started this, and we're pushing child abuse reform, domestic violence reform, but also different laws in the terms of missing children. So we're working with both state and federal lawmakers on different things. So we could definitely talk about those and see what we can push to further the fight.
Awesome.
Another reason that I think that Dawn, Candace, one or the other, both were aware of the Evelyn Boswell case is because, as opposed to Summer just getting gone, they did report her missing. These people aren't scared of CPS or anything. Evelyn's law became a law in Tennessee in March of 2021. Now, things were already very awry in the Wells home. Then she goes missing in June, and even though it took Candace 4 or 5 hours, she did report her missing. Does anyone think that's another thing that they were looking at?
Mm-hmm. And I think, honestly, that the way that they've spoken on this case and the way that they dealt with it that day, I think they're banking on the fact that she won't be found. Like, I think that, obviously, I agree that I think they were involved 100%, but I think that they're banking on the fact that they can call it in that day and they could go on YouTube and go on Facebook and say whatever they want, because in their heart, they know that she won't be found. or that's at least what they believe. I think in this is that, because if not, they would be more afraid to go on all these platforms and just spew all this information and to leave the house. Like, if a lot of people think that she's like on that property, but that property was vacant for the time that once Candace went running around and Grandis had left and Dawn was in jail. You don't leave your evidence behind without somebody there. It just doesn't happen.
Well, according to Pruitt, they think she's somewhere around there. And according to Leslie at TBI, even though you don't see them out there walking around, they're still working on the case. I don't know if they're waiting on a credible tip or someone to come across Summer. I don't know. Obviously, they're not going to tell me. It'd be nice to know, but it is interesting. You know, we're doing, you know, somewhat of a case comparison, and there's a lot of, I mean, everything from not being allowed to go to the Walmart to the changing stories. There's a lot of things you can compare that are similar.
I worry a lot about the local landfill down there too. I know there's a dumpster about 20 minutes away from where they are, without any cameras or anything on the way there or there, and that came up by way of somebody involved in the case, was that she was thrown away in that dumpster, and they refused to search the landfill at that time. So, and now it's probably too late, but that's what I worry happened.
Yeah.
Now, is it true, and you guys would know, obviously I wouldn't, that the landfill you're speaking of, Summer went missing on a Tuesday afternoon, that landfill does its clear out into the early mornings on Wednesday?
What I do know is, Brooks, I'm not 100% sure on that. But what I do know is the convenience center. So let's say that there's they take their stuff to a convenience center. Those are, from what I was told just last week, that those are taken to the landfill. And there's 9 of those in the county. And those are they clean those out at the convenience centers every day.
Mm-hmm.
And they're open till most of them are open till 5 or 5:30, from what the individuals told me that works there.
I think what's also frustrating too is that, well, I mean, this part isn't frustrating. TBI does know what they're doing. They've got a great record. I mean, hell, the day that Eliza Fletcher was grabbed by that nutcase in Memphis, which is still a really weird case, there's a lot of coincidences in it too.
Mm-hmm.
TBI agents were seen digging through dumpsters. They know what they're doing. So what is going on with the Summer Wells case that they act? I'm not saying that they're acting, that they're so puzzled. I mean, look what they did in the Evelyn Boswell case. I couldn't believe what came out in court on Friday, and I can't believe that they're letting the public know.
See, I know, and that's what's so puzzling about this whole thing with Summer. That's exactly what's so puzzling. It's just like it's completely different cases. Even, I mean, and we're not just talking about Hawkins County versus Sullivan. Like, I know there's a difference, but it's just like the with way TBI handled things too. And I know that we've heard Leslie say this case is like any other we've ever handled before. I understand that too. But why? You know what I mean? Like, that's what's frustrating, I think, as a person that lives here is, okay, you keep saying that. Why do you keep saying that? Is it because of the players that are in play and what they've been, what their history is? What exactly is the problem that it's so much different than what other cases have been that they've handled? I just don't because TBI has a great track record. I mean, I think they do. Trevor, I don't know about you, but I think they have a good track record.
100%. That's why I was glad when they came in and took over the case, because I worry about, I don't know enough about Lawson to say too much, but I don't know him as much as I do Cassidy, but I know that it seemed like the ball was dropped at the beginning, and you don't have time for that to happen. Sure. But with TBI, with what you were saying with how they're talking about it's a case they've never had, there's got to be some similarities, because they've handled cases where a parent has killed their child. We know because they've handled Evelyn's case. I mean, plenty of
Sure.
other cases as well, but even recently they've handled Evelyn's case. They've handled kidnapping because Noah Claire's case. I worked with his family on getting flyers out and stuff like that when he was kidnapped by his father and taken all the way to California. So
Yeah.
they've worked that.
Daniels.
Joe Clyde Daniel. You have so many cases that they've worked that are in each different aspect. There's only a
Sure.
certain amount of things that could happen to Summer. She wasn't like abducted by aliens. She didn't disappear and turn invisible. Like there are only a certain amount of things that could physically happen to her, and I feel like they've worked all of those. So it's just weird to hear that.
Yeah, it is. That statement always really just throws me for a complete loop. And and I know they're not all the same. I understand, but I'm like you. There's aspects that have to be similar. That I don't understand what this like no other means. And it just really makes me swallow really hard every time I hear her say that. Like it just really does something to me listening to
It
that.
makes me
So
sick to my stomach. I've been
yes,
waiting every time they have a press conference. Now she says the same things. I know you guys have a lot of questions. She said the same thing in the Evelyn Boswell case. She always has kind of the same thing to come back with. I get it. You got to be careful. But with Summer, when she says this is a case outside the norm, I'm waiting for one reporter to put on their journalism cap and say, "Can you explain what about the Summer Wells case is exactly outside the norm?" I'm waiting
yes,
on one to ask, just
yes.
one, and see what Leslie says. Or if
My
she says, "Let me turn it over to Ronnie Lawson, he can explain." But if he starts talking about the terrain and shit, I'm going to lose it.
No, I agree. I will too.
my thought, and maybe this is just a hope more than anything, but possibly with them being so tight-lipped, even more than they are in other cases about it, is I wonder if they have, obviously, I know they have more than we know, but I wonder if they have enough that they're looking to have them slip up, because Don and Candace aren't these mastermind criminals. Like, these aren't these geniuses, and they're bound to
Agreed.
slip up if they're allowed. So if TBI keeps saying, and they may honestly say they think they have no lead, and I'm not saying they don't, but there could also be that where they're saying that, and then Dawn and Candace will ease down, and that's when you get comfortable, and that's when you slip up, and then they'll jump on it. Because I know they're listening to everything they're saying. Every YouTube show they go on, every little platform they use, all their social media, it's being watched. So when they go
Absolutely.
on, and when Dawn gets out of jail, I think he's going to have a lot to say. So if they get comfortable and think this is over, and they slip up and say something, TBI will be their jump on. And that may just be a hope, but I hope that's what their strategy is in being so discreet and saying that they don't know what's going on.
Well, Trevor, I've expressed that same thing. I keep having the hope. I really do. I have the hope and the faith that and we've heard all kinds of stuff about Lawson. Is there a lot of corruption going on and stuff like that? And I'm a Hawkins County resident, and I'm gonna be very honest. I don't know if there's corruption. I'm sure there probably is. I feel like there's some just about everywhere in this freaking country.
It's everywhere,
But
friend. It's everywhere.
yes, yes. But at the same time, are we really saying that, at one point in time we had FBI here, we had TBI here? Are we saying we have that many entities that played along with the corruption? I just don't believe that. I just can't
No,
believe that. And God forbid that ever be the truth, but I just don't see that. You know what I mean?
I don't think that happens either, because you could have that with a locality, like if
Sure.
Hawkins is only on it, but they have to give it up at some point. And when they called in TBI, I do know that TBI not only took over the case like normal, but they did put their thumb on Hawkins County and say, like, this is ours because of the way it was being handled. I don't
Well, and
know
I agree with
exact
that.
details to why that was done, but I do know early on that was done. So once TBI took it over, you lose that level of uncertainty, because I know that
Absolutely.
they know what they're doing, and we've named numerous cases just recently that they've successfully cleared, and I know they've
Yeah.
done plenty of others, so they know what they're doing, and FBI certainly does too, and they bring them in, so
Yeah.
it goes beyond that at that point.
Yeah, and I do think that's worthy of continuously reminding people too that even though that there may not be as much TBI presence, when it comes to what it was obviously during the search and stuff like that, they still have their thumb on this case. I mean, I do fully believe that, and maybe it is a hope and everything else, but I feel like people think that it's just Hawkins County that's doing the investigation, and that's not true. There's still a collaboration between TBI and Hawkins County.
Oh
So I
yeah,
feel
TBI.
like there's constantly this utter of, well, Hawkins County's not doing anything. They're not the ones that's out doing anything alone. They're not doing this by themselves. And people need to remember that. That should be a comforting thing in this, even though there's nothing about this comforting, but it should give us all a little bit of feel good that we still have somebody besides Hawkins County doing this.
Because TBI still has a special agent assigned. I forget his name.
Absolutely.
They have a
Yep.
special agent on the case. And I've talked to Leslie every few months just to check in about the case. And I know they won't say anything, but it's more of just that reassurance to know that they're still on it. And I know that they've got somebody assigned to it and they're actively investigating. I mean, we got to remember these people are humans too. Like she said that before. I've heard that before too, where it's like from them is these agents are humans. Like a lot of them have kids. Like they see this isn't like you're trying to find some stolen goods. Like somebody got their car stolen, you're looking for it. This is a child. And a lot of people can look at their own children and think, what if this was my kid? And they're going to put their emotion into it because we're naturally emotional humans. Like it's going to happen.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, in cases like Summers, okay, because Evelyn, I still wonder about Hunter, how if he was part of the cover-up, disposal or something like that. It's just too odd what he did for Maggie's mom and boyfriend. It just doesn't add up to me. But I don't know. But you have to ask yourself too, why this one case? Why this one child? Do they all want to? Why this one? When there's no, somebody in Washington, D.C. comes back from the movies and gets shot in the back of the head and they all go, oop, looks like it was a suicide. That's a political affiliation. We know that stuff goes on.
Sure.
But you have to ask yourself, why would the FBI, TBI, and even Hawkins County, why would they all be in on this one child? Why?
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. And that's why, and I've said it on here many times too, and I know people are probably tired of me saying it, but I mean, you're right. That's a lot of people that have to be corrupted. And, I just feel like we would see that in more than one case. If in fact that were the truth, we would see that it would be very obvious in other cases, and we have not seen it. So, and it's just a lot of freaking people. It's a lot of different people that would have to be in on it. I just don't believe that. I truly don't. Because I'm like Trevor, just like Trevor said, they've got children, they know, and this hits them in a very personal way too. So, I just don't know.
Right. And some of the TBI out of the Johnson City smaller field office are local. Like these are people that also have lived in at least the decent vicinity. They're not all people just from Nashville and Memphis and Chattanooga. Like these people are close to us. So it's their own community too. And they get that same feeling. They can't express it publicly like we can because they've got that duty as their job to keep things private because they're handling the investigation. But like we know that it's weighing on them too because it's in their own communities for some of them.
Sure. Absolutely.
Well, guys, I appreciate you both coming up and taking time to go through both cases. Really, we just kind of scratched the surface on Evelyn, but it is zany. The similarities that stick out.
Definitely.
And it is really telling when you see how two sheriffs handled it differently. All it can come down to is pride. Get out of my playground. I'm going to take care of this. Doesn't work that way, though. I mean, there's always a bigger bulldog in the yard. And I really think that once this CPS stuff unfolds, if that's really what Pruitt's waiting on, then there might be some more leeway with Summer. If that's really what he's saying, that he has to wait on something before they pull any kind of trigger with Summer, then I guess we'll just have to continue to be patient, because if we get frustrated, then people move on to other things and then they forget about Summer Wells. We're not doing that here. We're not about that business here.
No, and that's why we love you, and we've not let it happen, and we appreciate it. So,
well, I love you guys. I want you to get better though, Muscles. We got to find you a doctor.
yeah. Hopefully my blood work will come in soon, and we'll know a little bit more. I hope. We'll see.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to start winding this down. Trevor, we got to do this again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Hey,
Brooks, get us together. If you've got another way of getting a hold of Trevor, let's all three of us have a conversation sometime.
I am. As soon as I get off here, I'm going to message both of you at one time.
Perfect. Okay, perfect.
I'm so tech savvy.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Let's have a big round of applause for Trevor and Muscles and Mascara. This was it's hard to do two cases at once, or even like, I say on the show all the time, I don't mean to cross cases, but, and I'll bring up a little something, then I stop it right there. But I think we handled it pretty well. Trevor's awesome. Our girl Muscles is always awesome. You guys are the bomb diggity for sure. For sure. Best community, best chat on YouTube, hands down. I don't care. And I've seen other chats, and they're a dumpster fire. Not into that. You guys are the best. You're here for all the right reasons. And you know how we keep it. We keep everything as lighthearted as possible because, well, we're talking about and we're hearing the worst that society has to offer us. Big, big appreciation and thanks to Trevor and to our girl Muscles. As always, the Mod Squad, you guys are the best. And I will see you guys back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. In the meantime, we'll be chatting it up like we always do in Discord or over in one of the Facebook groups. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.